Hello, this is Latoya Brown. I'm coming to you with Concrete Rose, a socially conscious podcast about what happens in our community, the Black community, the everyday struggles. Here we go. Imagine me, buried beneath the earth, under dirt and rocks, ready to be birthed. I rise slowly but steadily, making my way to the top, only to find a concrete barrier in place, like a sign that reads stop. The pain and struggle I feel is immense, as I twist and turn my way through cement. Battered but not broken, limp but not weak, I reach the top as a rose through concrete.
It's Lady L, and I'm here again, and we're going to talk about the psychology of Black people, slavery, and today. And a lot of things within our community has been, for the longest swept under the rug when it comes to mental illness and when it comes to things of a sexual nature, especially when it comes to children. Children are very vulnerable and impressionable, and we haven't taken responsibility for our children and for the hurt that our children go through from day to day. And I know growing up for us, we just kind of had to fend for ourselves, and whatever happened to us, we kind of kept to ourselves because there was no one to tell, a lot of times. And even if people knew, there was no help available. So I think that we have to really start to heal ourselves. We have to really start to understand ourselves and understand our children. And when our children tell us something, we need to take it as Bible. If someone hurt them, instead of sweeping it under the rug and it being a family secret that everyone knows about, we have to take extra step in getting ourselves and our families help, like outside help. Praying is important. Prayer is a beautiful thing, but I think that we have to go a little bit further than that. We need to seek professional help from child psychiatrists and psychiatrists in general to help us cope, because we have self-destructive behaviors that we pass down from generation to generation, especially dealing with drugs, and alcohol and other drugs was big in my family, with people trying to just cope. They having their own traumas and their own things that they're going through in their lives, or they went through in their past lives that they haven't yet coped with. So it's a difficult thing, and I think we have to start trying to heal ourselves. We have to start taking responsibility for ourselves. What once was is no longer. We can't say the white man, although that has been true, and in some cases it's still true. I think we have to now start taking more responsibility for our own selves, for our own lives, for our own downfall, because right now it's us. Right now we are the reasons as to why we're not succeeding in a lot of situations. We are now the new reason why our communities are failing and why our children are failing, because we don't ask any questions, nor do we support anything that has anything to do with our children or our communities. So we want to yell in the streets, but what have you done lately? That's the question. What have you done lately? What town hall meeting have you gone to lately? What school board meeting have you gone to lately? What parent-teacher meeting have you gone to lately? Let's see what's going on with yourself, in your community, and with your children. It's not enough to just exist and think things are just going to automatically change around you. That doesn't happen like that. We have to start taking responsibility for ourselves, and I think that we can do it. It just take us to organize, and yes, it's going to take time, and yes, it's going to take money. And I know people are saying, well, I'm struggling. Well, you're going to keep struggling because you don't want to do anything, so until you want to do something, until you want to get up, until you get real tired of being in the same standing still, until you get tired of standing still, you're going to keep standing still. At some point you got to move your feet. At some point you just can't. It's only so long that you can keep walking past the trash on the street. Pick it up. Don't think it's somebody else's job to pick the trash up. You see it just like everybody else sees it. I think we have to be the example, be the reflection of what we want to see. And I think that it doesn't take a whole lot to do that. You just galvanize a few people. And when people see what you're doing, they'll galvanize a few more. And by the time you look up, you've been to change something. Of course we can't change the way people think about us, but we can change the way we think about us. That's important. I think there was a lot of psychological damage done, from slavery, on up through the civil rights movement, up through the Black Panther movement. There's a lot of psychological damage that has been done to us, and it keeps showing up generation after generation later, because it's a part of our DNA now. Like, trauma is really a part of who we are now, and that's a really sad thing. And we don't understand, and I think a lot of people who look at us, outsiders look at us, they don't even understand that. Why do they keep doing the same thing? Because it's trauma, and that's a part of our DNA now. From years ago, from hundreds of years ago, just simply trying to survive, and we're still doing the same thing from 300-400 years ago, because the same things that keep happening to us from 300-400 years ago. But I think we have more power than we realize, and we just have to harness that power and do good with it. Work within our own communities. People get money and they move away, but they don't put a whole lot back. They might give a little bit of money for the schools, and they really don't go to the schools, or they might buy some books. And I'm saying all of that is good, but we have to dig down, and we have to do something a little bit more than that. We have to do something a little bit more than that. We have to stop giving each other fish. That's what we're doing. When people give money to a situation, they're just giving money. They're just giving you the fish. What they failing to do is teaching you how to fish. Some people make it out, and they know the tools to get out, but they don't teach no one else. They rather just come back and give you some fish and some bread. It's like, no, I want to know how to catch the fish, harness the wheat to make the bread, so I can continue to eat, because this meal will only last me for 1 or 2 days, and then I'm starving again. And I think that's what we have to learn how to do. Start taking out enough time to teach each other something, instead of thinking that if I hold it to myself, that'll make me better than everybody. But everybody around you is drowning. So I think that we have to be a little bit more diligent, when dealing with each other. We have to be a little bit more patient in dealing with one another. And I think that we can make this thing happen. This is very possible that we can turn everything around. I know we have examples like Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street, and we saw what happened. But I think we have to be a little bit more smart, because we know what we're up against. We know what we was up against then, and those same dangers in some ways still exist. So we have to know how to combat that. As people, we have to know how to combat that, but we have to be smart. We have to be smart. In everything we do, we have to be smart. We have to teach our children, do not leave the United States education system. Don't leave that, leave your children's education in their hands, because they're not teaching your children what your children should know. The education that they're getting is watered down at best, because the education the teachers have gotten is watered down at best. And there's no shot to any educator, but we know this, because what they're learning over in China, in Japan, and in Europe, and in Africa, and all these different schools, that is not what these children here are learning. They're not learning the same thing. They're not learning the same mathematics. They're not learning the same science. That's why them kids can come over here, from these different, from the Middle East and from China and from different places, and zoom right past our children. It's because they have been taught, the correct math and science. They get all the jobs in the math and science field. They come over here and run big companies because they are taught the correct math and science. We are not. It's watered down at best. It's watered down at best. And I think that you cannot leave your education up to the school systems. You're going to have to go a little bit further. And I know, as parents, y'all work every day, so it's hard to come home and have to re-educate your children. Or go on the weekends and have to re-educate your children, but you're going to have to do it. I think you can't just leave it in their hands. You have to start asking more questions. Why are my children taking all these tests? Why do they have so much homework? Why are they taking all these tests, back to back? What is this? Why is repetition has been taken out of the school system? You have to ask questions because your tax dollars is funding this. And if you don't like something, you're gonna have to, you got the power to have it changed. But because you don't show up to school board meetings, you don't show up to PTA meetings, and you don't check homework, check the curriculum, then you don't know. So you wonder why your children went through all these years of school and don't know anything. They've been fresh from K to 12. But they don't know anything. They barely reading at the right level. And how many books do you have in your home? Let's talk about that. Forget how many pair of shoes you can afford your child. How many books can you afford your child? You don't have to know everything in the world to provide your child a Class A education. You don't have to put your child in the best school in the world for him to get a Class A education. There's a library in your community, I'm sure. And a library card don't cost that much. You can go in there and check out any book you want, but you have to do it. And this has to start early. This has to start before these kids are even in school. Them reading and them. That's when their brain is like more of a sponge. Because you try to start them in high school on reading, it's not going to work out too well. So we have to start early with our children and teaching them. As parents, you cannot leave the education of your children is solely up to the teachers. They're teaching more than 20 kids a lot of times, and they can't pay your child special attention all of the time. And your child might fall behind. And you want to blame the teacher in the school system. You have to start. It starts at home. It does not start in the school. You chose to have a child, so now you have to do what it takes to make sure this child can compete. Because once school is over, once they graduate from high school, or even if they don't graduate, playtime is over. Your child has to compete in this world. In my 12th grade econ government teacher, Constance Harris told me, or told our class, that without an education, you cannot compete in this world. My thing is, without a proper education, you can't compete in this world anyways. Without the math and science behind you, it's going to be difficult to do anything or to make any type of real money. We put a lot into sports, but we don't put a lot into academics. Everybody's not going to make it to the NBA and the NFL. Sorry to say that. I don't want to be a buzzkill, but everybody's not going to make it. So we have to instill a little bit more into them than sports. Sports is okay, but we need to make sure that they are good academically. Because if they're not good academically, I don't know what to say. The odds are against you with sports. Even if they are good. The odds are still not 100% in your favor. So I wouldn't hang my hat on sports. I would hang my hat on academics, and what they can accomplish with their brain. That's why I'd rather hang my hat on. So we have to, in order to do that, we just can't say, oh, my kid is not that smart. You have to actually take out time. And I know, in the world we live in, of 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet, you may not have a whole lot of time to do these things for children, but you're going to have to do something. Because you can no longer blame the school system for the miseducation of your children. You have to blame yourself. You have to blame yourself. Because it's what your child does outside of their school. It's what you do with your child outside their school system is what matters. That's what matters. Take out the time to look over homework. Take out the time to talk to teachers. Take out time to ask questions.